Welcome back to another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Amber is 34. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes about 3.5 years ago. She's the mother of 2 children, and she's got a really interesting story that involves her family and her ex-husband, and I hope that you enjoy listening to her today. Nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan. When you place your first order for AG1 with my link, you'll get 5 free travel packs and a free year's supply of vitamin D. Drink ag1.com/juicebox. Don't forget to save 40% off of your entire order at CozyEarth.com. All you have to do is use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. That's JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% at CozyEarth.com. If you are the caregiver of someone with type 1 diabetes or have type 1 yourself, please go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox and complete the survey. This should take you about 10 minutes and will really help type 1 diabetes research. You can help right from your house at t1dexchange.org/juicebox. Today's episode is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes, a company who's working to make the invisible visible through their Blue Balloon Challenge. Life with diabetes is like doing everything in life while trying to keep a balloon in the air. The blue balloon is a powerful metaphor for the daily struggles that those living with diabetes go through. Medtronic invites you to join the challenge by taking a video of yourself balancing a balloon while doing something in your everyday life. Post your challenge on social media with the hashtag Blue Balloon Challenge and follow at Medtronic Diabetes on Instagram to see other Blue Balloon Challenge videos. This show is sponsored today by the glucagon that my daughter carries, Gvoke HypoPen. Find out more at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. The episode you're listening to is sponsored by US Med. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. You can get your diabetes testing supplies the same way we do from US Med.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Oh, wait. Okay, one more time. I'm sorry.
Wait, that was the first time?
No.
That's definitely staying in. Just so you know, this is now the opening of your episode. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Amber, and I have been a type 1 diabetic for 3.5 years now.
Amber, how old are you?
I am 34.
You sound 34. Isn't it weird that 34 sounds like something? Like when you listen to me, I don't sound 24, right?
Correct.
Right, yeah. No, you sound like you're in your 30s. That's so interesting. You're 34, and you've had type 1 for 3.5 years?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
right at the break of COVID.
Right as COVID was happening or as it was ending?
As it was in full force.
Did you have COVID before you were diagnosed?
So I had COVID before it became COVID. The December before the outbreak, I'm from a little town, and there was suddenly crazy sickness going on, and people were in the hospital for months on end. Nobody could figure out what it was. Yeah, it was COVID.
My wife talks about that all the time. She's like, gosh, look back. People had COVID for a while. We didn't know what it was. And I was like, yeah. To give my wife a ton of credit, she said to me, I don't know how long before COVID, like maybe a month or 6 weeks before, she said, hey, there's a bunch of people are sick in China. We're going to get it here. And I was like, what? She goes, yeah, it's going to make its way here. I'm like, how? She goes, oh, it's a virus. She started explaining it to me. And I'm like, right. And I said, but that's in China. And she goes, it'll get here. And I was like, oh, she goes, she said to me, I swear to God, my wife said to me, in time, everyone on the planet will have had this virus.
That's wild. She should play the lotto.
You know, she has like a biology degree or something. And I don't know. She gets paid every week. I don't ask a lot of questions how it happens. You know what I mean? And while she was talking, I was like, this one again, talky, doesn't know what she's saying.
She was onto something, huh?
Anyway, I was kidding about that. My wife is almost always right, except when she's acting like, crazy. And even then, she's right a couple of times.
Yeah, correct. Yep, I believe it.
You may have already named the episode, but I'm not going to tell you yet.
Okay.
What I think it is. So
is it called Wait Can we start over?
No. How did you ask to start over when you hadn't actually started?
Welcome to my brain. My friends love me. It's great.
You were like, I was like, go ahead, whenever you're ready. And now usually all that gets cut out, right? Like you listen to the podcast. What usually happens is like there's ads and then you just go, you hear like, hi, I'm Amber and I'm 34 years old and I was diagnosed, blah, 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 right? But yours is going to go, the ads will stop and then people will hear,
oh my goodness.
Wait,
that's so mean.
Wait, can I start over? And I was like, all I was thinking was, wait, you started already?
This is me. My name is Amber. This is how my life goes. This is on a daily basis. Welcome.
What do you mean by that? Tell me about that.
I am just what you've heard so far. It's just literally me in my brain. It's an interesting place to be in my brain. My kids love it. My boyfriend, everyone gets a good laugh at me, and it's all in. They laugh with me, not at me. They say.
But they say it.
They say it's with me. I laugh at myself a lot. My brain is just an interesting place to be.
Wow. I need an example, though.
Well, that would be the perfect example. Even though I hadn't even started, I had already shut down and say, wait, can we start over? And you're like, wait, what just happened?
There's a lot of moments where we go, what did Amber say? How does that relate to reality? Like that?
Yeah.
I can't wait to start talking to you then. That's fantastic.
It's fun.
Your whole life like that?
Honestly, I think it's been in the last couple years. I have so much going on. My brain is nonstop to where I can't complete sentences. I don't always, it's chaotic in there. It's chaotic, but I'm a busy woman, and I just have a lot going on. And
what are your, I don't usually start like this, but what are your blood sugars like? What's your range you stay in? What's your A1C, that stuff?
my A1C sits around like 6.3-ish, I would say.
Mm-hmm. What's a high blood sugar for you?
Like 170, 180. I know some people are great with like a high being like 130. We're not there yet. I'm a work in progress. My highs are, my alarms are set at 170. And after that, I consider myself high.
Okay. Well, your A1C is like 6.3. Do you have a lot of lows?
No, I do not.
So you're not 170 often then? Maybe 3 hours a day, something like that?
Yeah, it's usually in the evenings. I tend to eat higher fat at dinner, and it's something I keep telling myself to stop doing because at that 3-4 hour mark, my alarm goes off because I set it to 160 at night. So it's usually in the evening. Sometimes after lunch, it depends. I normally eat the same thing because I work out a lot. I'm very consistent with my working out and my eating. I eat the same thing almost every day. So anytime I kind of venture off is when sometimes I'll get a spike.
When you tell yourself not to do that anymore, do you actually use the words or do you think you're going to say it and then go, and then don't get it out?
No, I tell myself, but I'm also stubborn. So sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I'm just not paying attention. I got 2 kids here and I got 3 cats and
Amber,
I'm not paying attention.
Tell me about the argument yourself is having with itself about fatty foods.
It's basically like, whenever people want to quit doing something, they have that inner dialogue. And then whether they follow through with it or not, it comes to that, like your determination and your willpower. I have very strong willpower. I do a lot every day that I don't necessarily want to do. But when it comes to food, I'm like, hey, we're not going to do this tonight. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, bacon sounds phenomenal.
No,
right
we are
now.
definitely doing this. Yeah. So this is is it fair to say this is the place where you're so in control in other places? So here's where you cut yourself a break?
Sometimes I try not to cut myself a break with food. I mean, I'm really, really, really good with food for the most part. So I wouldn't say this is where I cut myself a break. I'm very strict with my eating. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Well, that was my other question for you after what you told me so far. So you eat the same things over and over again. Did you do that before diabetes?
I did. So in my 20s, I had gained a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. I was pretty heavy. And then when I was 25, I started going through the process of going through a separation with someone and then, eating healthier and getting in shape. And then, I became a single mom. And over the course in total, I've lost I'm around like 110 pounds. So I had started that process of learning about protein, carbs, and fats and my macros well before I had diabetes. So once I transferred into it, that piece of the puzzle was cake work. Cake work. Listen to me, cake. That part
Also,
of the puzzle was very easy to me.
Yeah. Also, it's cake walk is the saying you're looking for. Yeah.
Excuse me.
But wait, this is uncovering like a great conversation. So hold your thought there.
Okay.
But I'll hold it for you. You don't need to hold it. And now let's go back to you as a kid. Your mom had type 1?
My mom, yes, she was a type 1. She was diagnosed at 9. Before they really knew much, she was in the hospital and they shot her up with sugar water and put her into a coma.
For fun?
No, I guess she was not responsive because her blood sugars were so high. And I guess they gave her sugar water thinking it would kind of like revive her and wake her up. And they put her into a coma for a couple weeks.
What year was that?
69, 1970, maybe.
She's unresponsive. She needs energy. Sugar is energy. Like that?
Correct.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Put her into a coma. Yep.
No kidding. Oh,
yeah,
I was picturing one of those old 70s TV shows about the hospitals and the ladies had the paper hats on.
Probably. Probably. Yeah. She was actually the first diabetic patient at her hospital. Again, small town. They didn't know anything about it. So yeah, she became a diabetic very young at 9. And I've actually uncovered more lately as to, the doctors and what they were telling her to do throughout her life. My mom was very, very sick throughout her life. So there's a lot behind that.
Yeah. I want to hear, actually, do you mind talking about that? Because I don't want to give it away too quickly, Amber, but I think this story has to do with your weight gain, eventual divorce, and where we are now. Do you want to hear? You want to find out why I think that?
Absolutely.
Do you think that?
I think my mom and her, everyday dealings with type 1 diabetes has had a monstrous effect on my life. I've actually had to go through a lot of therapy in the recent years because of it.
But before we start, in the recent years, are you Canadian?
No, I'm not.
Are you in Minnesota or up north?
Do I have an accent?
I don't know. That was a weird turn of phrase. That's all.
Oh, no. I'm Floridian, born and raised.
Oh, that I understand now. Don't worry about it.
Touche.
You just didn't put the words in the right order. It's not your fault. I understand.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
It's my brain. See, you will uncover my brain as we go. It's literally just my brain. Welcome to the Amber Show.
It's very interesting. That's all. I'm having such a nice time. People like you generally, I imagine.
Yes, they do. I'm an interesting person to be around. And it's just my brain. I don't know. It's nothing I do different. It's just how it works. I don't know.
No, you're incredibly likable.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So I think so.
That's delightful, too, that you're not like, oh, that's okay. No, don't say that about me. You're like, no, I think I am likable. That's fantastic.
No, yeah. I'm pretty decent. I don't have a lot of friends because I'm so busy, but the people who I do have around tend to like me. My dad doesn't tend to care for me that much, but everyone else does.
Pretty decent, by the way. Decent meaning about halfway good, and pretty meaning halfway good. So you're like a quarter excellent, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back. When you're born, which is some 34 years ago, which I could figure out if I wanted to.
That's so funny.
Let's see, it's 2024. Oh, 1990.
89.
That's the year I graduated from high school. Holy hell. All right. So you were born in 89, and yes. Well, that's going to hit me hard for a second. Give me a second. So you're born in 89. At that point, your mom is how old, do you know? Or how long had she had diabetes already?
I believe she was around 20 when she had me. She was also the first diabetic woman to give birth in a hospital. It was a huge ordeal. She was told she would never be able to have kids. So I was the miracle child to my family, which meant I got so much love growing up from my aunts and my grandparents. But yeah, she was the first diabetic to give birth in that little town hospital.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say in that hospital, because it wasn't like in Florida or America. She was the first.
No, we were from a very small town.
Yeah, like they were like, one of them lived long enough to have a baby. Like that,
correct,
right? Yeah.
Correct.
And when I do that voice, is that the part of Florida you're talking about?
Do it again.
I don't want to insult anybody, but is it a little, I think people who've never been to Florida don't know, like, there's a part of Florida that's like, Disney and Orlando. And there's
Correct.
a part of Florida that feels almost like Texas got a beach. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Yes, it's still around. Not as much anymore. Unfortunately, it's all being built up, but absolutely.
Okay. Also, I've been to Texas and I've never heard one person speak like that, but that's not the point. I'm just going on what I saw on television when I was a child. By the way, in those old hospital shows, the doctors would smoke cigarettes when they stood around and talked.
Yes, they did
Fantastic.
back then.
I miss that so much. Mom has the baby. The baby's you. You're a miracle because she's got diabetes and she had a baby. So how old was she when she was diagnosed now?
She was 9.
9. Okay. And this is obviously like she's probably getting, well, in that time, do you even know? Have you ever spoken to her about it?
In regards
what kind
to,
of
I know
insulin?
that,
I'm sorry, I stopped in the middle of my thought. Oh my God, now I'm like my mom. I'm like, you fill in what you think I mean. Her insulin, do you know what she started with? Was it beef and pork? Was it regular NPH?
that part I actually do not know.
Okay. So
I do not know.
was she born to people who were like, diabetes, we'll take this very seriously?
Yeah, it's interesting. For the year prior, she had been complaining that she had been having issues, and they kind of just blew it off, thinking that she was calling from school saying she didn't feel good, and she was always nauseous and vomiting and shaky, and they just thought that she was trying to get attention. So once they found out, they obviously felt absolutely horrible. And then after that, it was, game on. They were 100% on board.
Okay. They work out to the best of that time's ability that she has diabetes. But did you say she was a sick kid? Was it about the diabetes or was it other stuff? This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes. And this is Aaron.
My name is Aaron Tsuchitori. I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii. I was first diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was about 1.5 years old, and I'm 25 years old today.
Who helps you keep your balloon in the air?
Gone through this journey together with my mom, who's been type 1 diabetic for most of her life as well.
What else have you found supportive?
Having really great friends and support systems in school. I was very lucky. I had some great roommates, especially my freshman year. We talked for like 3 hours. I was explaining every little thing. You hear this beep, it means this. There'd be times where he would wake me up in the middle of the night to make sure I was okay.
How did it feel when people knew how to use your Medtronic technology?
Great to know that I had people that had my back.
Medtronic Diabetes is making the invisible visible through their Blue Balloon Challenge. Life with diabetes is, of course, like doing everything in life while trying to keep a balloon in the air. The blue balloon is a powerful metaphor for the daily struggles that those living with diabetes go through. Medtronic invites you to join the challenge by taking a video of yourself balancing a balloon while doing something in your everyday life. Post your video on social media with the hashtag Blue Balloon Challenge and follow at Medtronic Diabetes on Instagram to see other Blue Balloon Challenge videos.
It was about the diabetes. She had had it for a while before they diagnosed it. So obviously with having the higher blood sugars all the time, she was not feeling good.
Mm-hmm. Do you know much about her care? Like, do you know how, like, what were her doctor's visits positive, generally speaking? Or, by the time she was an adult and they knew more about it, was she just not doing well still?
As a child, I'm not sure. As an adult, I have learned more recently through speaking to my stepdad, and I'm honestly a little frustrated by it because I feel like in these, she passed away right before I was diagnosed. Through the 2000s and especially 2010s, there's no reason she should have been getting the advice and the guidance that she was getting. It's a little heartbreaking.
Like what?
Whenever I was first diagnosed, I spoke to my stepdad, and I was terrified of being diagnosed because I watched, everything my mom went through, which is something we can talk about. He said her ranges were always really good. She was always in range and never really had any issues. And then more recently, I said, "Can you explain that, please?" Oh no, what it was that I was actually up in North Carolina not long ago on vacation with him, and he said, "Well, you're at 99 and you're bolusing for your lunch." And I said, "Yeah, why wouldn't I?" And he said, "Well, your mom, the doctor said you don't bolus for your meal if you're under 150." And I said, "Excuse me?"
Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking to me.
Yeah. And so the range, it's funny. The other night, I was up in the middle of the night. Arden was getting up to go see the sunrise with her friends, which I was like, I would like to be in college and it be summer because that sounds lovely. Like she's popping out of bed at 3:30 in the morning. She's like, "I'm going to go." And I'm like, okay. Well, it woke me up a little bit. And while I was trying to go back to sleep, I got online and I saw a person in my group talking, and newer diagnosed person, she's like, I don't know what's wrong with my kid. The kid's got this horrible headache. And they use the phrase, her blood sugars aren't that something out of range or high or something. But, it turns out once you read it, the kid's been between like 180 and 300 all day.
Oh, goodness.
And in that person's mind, this newly diagnosed kid is in range.
Yeah.
Because a doctor said to them, you don't want to be under this number, whatever the lowest number is. If a blood sugar spikes up, even to 300 and it comes back down again, it's okay. So now you give that person that feeling that the range is up to 300. And now her kid's sitting around all day, sick, horrible headaches, crazy high blood sugar. And this person's looking and going, I don't understand. It's got to be something else. Like, she was literally having conversations with people trying to figure out why little kids have headaches, but they weren't talking about the blood sugar.
Correct.
And that's from the doctor. And this is what happens to your mom.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so did you have the heart to explain that to your stepdad, or do you not want him to feel like, oh my God, I stood and watched her do that forever and ever?
No, I did tell him that. I told him how upsetting and heartbreaking that was, because I definitely don't feel like the doctors they didn't do as good as they could have. My mom suffered for a lot of years, and my mom always said to me, if you ever, I feel like it's God's intervention, honestly. It's so interesting because my mom always said to me, if you develop type 1 diabetes like me, I will never be able to forgive myself. It will be so painful. And literally months after she passed, I was diagnosed. But as much as I'm happy that my body waited for her to pass before, doing its thing, I also wish that I had gotten it before, because I feel like I really could have helped her out a lot more. I didn't really, even though I grew up with her having it, she tried to hide stuff from me. Obviously she's my mom, but I wish I had known more to be able to help her more, because she might still be with us today.
So you're saying that there's a part of you that thinks, if I would have just gotten diabetes when I was 24, then I would have learned about this and been able to transfer it to her, and she might have been okay then.
Oh, 100%. My mom was my absolute best friend, and I would have done anything. And if I would have known then what I know now, I feel like she could have still been alive to this day, 100%.
Yeah. Well, I hope you talked about that with that therapist you mentioned earlier.
Yes, I have.
Good. I don't want you walking around with that in your head.
I know. It's heavy.
Yeah, because you know why? It's one of those horrible things in life. You're probably right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like a wish thing where you're like, oh, I just wish if this would have happened, the teddy bears would turn pink and start walking around. Like you're probably right. If you would have figured out that, because you hear the podcast, people tell that story all the time.
Yes.
I didn't take care of myself, but then I wanted to get married. And, the person I wanted to get married to was like, I need you to take care of yourself. I love you. And they're like, okay, I will. And then that happens. Or a lot of times adults have younger children who are diagnosed, and they realize that the blood sugars they're okay with for themselves, they're not okay with for their kids. And then they take care of themselves too. And so that kind of would have been your story, just a little age flipped. But, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Let's not grind that into your head anymore.
Yeah.
How does she pass? Like what ends up happening it's from the diabetes, obviously, but how so? If you take insulin or sulfonylureas, you are at risk for your blood sugar going too low. You need a safety net when it matters most. Be ready with Gvoke HypoPen. My daughter carries Gvoke HypoPen everywhere she goes, because it's a ready-to-use rescue pen for treating very low blood sugar in people with diabetes ages 2 and above that I trust. Low blood sugar emergencies can happen unexpectedly, and they demand quick action. Luckily, Gvoke HypoPen can be administered in 2 simple steps, even by yourself in certain situations. Show those around you where you store Gvoke HypoPen and how to use it. They need to know how to use Gvoke HypoPen before an emergency situation happens. Learn more about why Gvoke HypoPen is in Arden's Diabetes Toolkit at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. Gvoke shouldn't be used if you have a tumor in the gland on the top of your kidneys called a pheochromocytoma, or if you have a tumor in your pancreas called an insulinoma. Visit gvokeglucagon.com/risk for safety information. Diabetes comes with a lot of things to remember, so it's nice when someone takes something off of your plate. US Med has done that for us. When it's time for Ardent's supplies to be refreshed, we get an email. Rolls up and in your inbox says, "Hi Ardent, this is your friendly reorder email from US Med." You open up the email, it's a big button that says, "Click here to reorder," and you're done. Finally, somebody taking away a responsibility instead of adding one. US Med has done that for us. An email arrives, we click on a link, and the next thing you know, your products are at the front door. That simple. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. I never have to wonder if Ardent has enough supplies. I click on one link, I open up a box, I put the stuff in the drawer, and we're done. US Med carries everything from insulin pumps and diabetes testing supplies to the latest CGMs like the Libre 3 and the Dexcom G7. They accept Medicare nationwide, over 800 private insurers, and all you have to do to get started is call 888-721-1514 or go to my link, usmed.com/juicebox. Using that number or my link helps to support the production of the Juicebox podcast.
Yes. So my mom had her first pancreas kidney transplant at 33, which is crazy because it's a year younger than me, and she had already had her first. Everything was okay for only about 6 months. After that, it failed. She was right back on insulin and, so on and so forth. And through the years, it just progressively got worse. She ended up having a couple open heart surgeries, toes amputated. She had this joke after she got her first toe amputated. We had a nail salon that we would go into. And the first time she was able to go in there again, she took off her sock and the guy who normally does her toes was like, "Oh my God, what happened?" She's like, do I get a one-toe discount? Like, she'd joke with them.
I seriously, you should take the price, divide it by 10, and then take off just a tenth and then let me have it.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Yeah. So she, toes amputated. At one point, she became paralyzed from the waist down.
But
just woke up one morning and was paralyzed from the waist down. And she was paralyzed for almost 2 years. She was in the hospital for the first 7 months. They never could really figure out what was going on. And then one day she was able to wiggle what toes she had left again.
Look at you keeping the sense of humor alive. Good for you.
My motto is, if I don't laugh, I'll cry.
Yeah, okay. And
so I try and make light of it.
It just comes back?
It just came back. Yeah. One morning.
And people are like, okay, go home. You're all set now.
Yeah. It literally almost 2 years. And she surprised us. She got up out of her wheelchair one day and we were like, oh my God.
Wait a minute.
Look at you.
Like the Righteous Gemstones? She just stood up?
She just stood up.
Do you think anybody knows that show? It's on HBO. So,
no, I don't.
Okay. I really enjoy it. Wow, no kidding. Your mom, did she say it's a miracle or anything like that?
No, she was really happy and she worked really hard. Once she started getting the feeling back, she went to physical therapy and regained her strength and was able to start walking again. It was never quite the same, but she was able to get up and it was a huge thing.
Your mom was paralyzed in a chair for 2 years. And then one day during The Price is Right, she was like, I think I could get up.
Correct. It was probably Grey's Anatomy or something. That was one of her shows. But yeah, She just randomly wiggled her toe. She's like, oh my God. Yeah, they never
and nobody bothers to figure out what happened. It's just okay now.
No, they said it was diabetes related, that all the nerves and everything. That woman is beyond the strongest person I've ever known in my life. She probably should have passed a while before, but she had such a strong will to live because of me and my kids that woman just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. So yeah, she started to walk again and she did it.
How old was she when she did pass?
52.
Wow.
Too young.
No,
way
wow.
too young.
So she had a transplant that didn't take, probably because it was done in a swamp. And then that's just how I imagined it, by the way, in a trailer with a gator outside.
We moved to a bigger town by then.
Oh, okay. Doctor's like, do we have to wash this stuff first? Nah, just shove it in there. Oh my gosh, she gets a transplant at a very young age. It doesn't work for her. It's terrible.
Correct.
And then she's keeping high blood sugars that she thinks are great because they're in range.
Correct.
Yep. And it reminds me too of a conversation I just had to get involved in on Facebook the other day, where somebody was talking about how they like to keep their kids' blood sugar higher because they feel better when they're higher. And I was like, oh God, you obviously haven't found the podcast yet. And so like, I gave them some stuff to listen to. She lives her whole life like that. This is her end. And so what is the impact of that growing up? Like you said, she tried to hide things from you, but obviously you're a smart person. You see what's going on. Like, how do you think that impacted you, seeing your mom like that?
First I will say my parents did the best they could, right? Like we're dealing with, a serious illness. My mom was very sick. My stepdad was, the breadwinner. It was me and two brothers. And, it was a lot, so they did the best they could. But, when I was in high school and wanted to live like the high school life, and there was a lot I got to do, but there was a lot I didn't, because that's when mom, at the time she was doing at-home dialysis. And, if I wanted to go out on the weekends with my friends, it was, well, what if something happens to your mom and she dies? You would never forgive yourself, and looking back, it's a horrible thing to put on a kid like that, but like I said, they did the best they could. They were scared something was going to happen to mom and she wasn't going to make it. And I was out with my friends. They were thinking that they were helping me because I would never forgive myself if I was hanging out with friends and my mom passed away.
Yeah. And you're at school all week. And so this weekend is the time you can actually stay with her.
Correct. But me being 14, 15, 16, years old, I want to hang with my friends. And, so it was a battle in the home, and it created, that had been said to me a couple of times, to where it actually created a fear in me that I was going to lose my mom. So then I created this, I had this huge fear of my mom just passing away. Mm-hmm. And that really carried on to me, because as the years went by, my mom obviously only got sicker.
Right.
So I created this huge dependency on my mom. My mom and I were best friends. I did move away to a different town. That was a couple hours away, but I was on the phone with her all day, every day, because I became so afraid that something was going to happen to her that I never wanted anything to be left unsaid, or I never wanted us to not make memories, Mm-hmm. So yeah, that definitely carried on to my adult years and into my relationships as a dependency problem. We're still working on it.
No, I'm getting to it. Yeah, right. So you have enough of a high school life that you're able to find a boy to ruin your life, right? You're able to pick one out that can definitely ruin everything for you. No, yeah. Yeah. You were able to find him. That's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, the one thing before we get away from your mom and move into your kind of adult life that baffles me, and I'm not asking you like you have the answer to it, but when someone has diabetes and they have so many complications and so many things are going wrong for them, I don't understand how nobody addresses that we're not using enough insulin, or this wouldn't be happening, right?
What the doctors would say, because my mom also, it just ravaged her body, right? She had a couple open heart surgeries, the doctors said basically she was a huge puzzle, and it got to the point where her poor body was just so worn out and just damaged that it was whatever's the emergency at the moment. Because towards, the last couple of years, mom was in the hospital 3 times a year, and then it became monthly, and then it became weekly.
Yeah, no, so at the end, sure. But in the crux of her life, her emergency is she doesn't use enough insulin at the right times. And and does no one say that to her? Can she just not figure it out and they're not helping? Do she have that, I have the sugars, this is my lot in life? This is just how I got the bad diabetes. Is she talking like that?
I honestly don't have the answer for that. I really wish I did. And I've honestly thought about reaching. She had one doctor for many years, and I've a billion times thought about reaching out to him and just setting up a meeting as me being the patient and going, hey, dude, what the hell?
Like a gotcha thing. He's like, so what are you here for? And you're like, you killed my mom. Yes. Like that kind of thing. Oh, that'd be fun. Bring a camera.
I've really considered it.
Yeah. Because by the way, when you get arrested, the headline's going to be Florida woman Shanghai's doctor in yeah. And there'll be great video of you ranting and raving as they drag you out the front doors of the place. Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, I thought about it.
All right. So I think we understand her situation. And anybody who's known somebody older with diabetes, this is not uncommon. What happened to your mom is just not uncommon. Okay. So then we have to get to the part, because a disconnected thought that you're very good at managing your nutrition, but you had to, how much weight have you lost, did you say?
All in all, 110 pounds.
Okay. So first of all, wow. Geez, good job. You know what I mean? Can I get some context for people? How tall are you?
Sure. I am 5'3".
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm tall.
You're so tall. I mean, am I making a leap here, or did your bad upbringing lead you to hooking up with a guy who eventually you realized you shouldn't be with? You got very unhappy, gained a bunch of weight, and left him eventually. Does that happen?
Oh, 100%. Okay. Well, when I met him, I was very tiny, but he is, excuse me if I can, if I'm able to, he's half Cuban, half Mexican, and his family cooked the best food ever.
Okay.
Oh my God. Suddenly I was having like fried steak every day and rice and beans. And he was like, yeah, like he liked his girls a little bit bigger and he thought I was really skinny anyways. So like, the food started piling in and I was like, yeah, all for it.
Were they fattening you up like a Thanksgiving turkey, do you think?
Without getting too far into it, yes.
Oh, jeez. They're like, if we could just get some meat on this Caucasian girl, we can let our son marry her. Yeah.
See, I was trying to not make any, I don't want to upset anybody, but yes, he liked his girls a little bit bigger and I was really tiny and they just fattened me up and it was great. The food was phenomenal. I don't regret that much of it. I regret some of it, but not all of it.
But nice family time, and you enjoyed that part because your family was kind of chaotic and maybe this was better.
Correct.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I know how it happens. I've done this more than once. By the way, I didn't know he was Cuban Mexican when I asked the question. I just kind of saw where the whole thing. Sure. I mean, in fairness to me, I should probably get whatever the like Oscar equivalent is for a podcast, because about 8 minutes into this, I quickly put together how most of your life probably went. And I was like, oh, I can go backwards and pick through the reasonings why she ends up where she is.
Great.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's my only skill. For people listening, do you think some people are like, God damn, is that what just happened? Is that what I've been listening to? Ember just has a trajectory that is common. That's all. And
basic.
And well, not basic, but I think the problem lies the way I get through things is I reverse engineer them. Mm-hmm. So I look at where I am, and to get out of where I am, I think about how I got there. I do that with everything.
Yeah.
And then once you learn how to do that, you recognize that you can move forward into time, decide where you want to be, and then tell the story that leads to that. And then you can do those things and actually end up there.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I've been doing that for a while. Like, so now most people would say like, you imagine where you want to be or something like that. But, and your actions follow. I take it a little farther. I've heard so many stories. I'm like, what was the story that led the person to this? What were the big pieces that got them there? And then you can kind of mimic that in your own life. And you mimic it by when you make decisions. You decide, left or right, or, yes or no. And, do I do this? Do I eat this? Do I buy that? And what gets me to where I want to go? Not buying that gets me to where I want to go. Not eating that puts me where I want to be, like that kind of stuff. And I find it works incredibly well. But then you can use that skill to diagnose people's lives too. And people will call that generalizing. But anybody who's hearing this and thinks, oh, he's just generalizing. I mean, I did get Amber's thing like 100% right. So
correct.
Yeah. So you call it what you want. I call it storytelling in reverse.
Correct.
Okay. So you meet this guy. You gain some weight, have a couple babies, gain more weight?
Yes.
And then he leaves you, you leave him?
No, we moved to a different town. And then that's when everything changed, which honestly probably saved my life. I was pretty unhappy at that point and everything was very stagnant. And we moved to this new town and I, joined a CrossFit here and gained a new community. And I actually joined an Olympic lifting team, which was, comprised of mostly women. So then I had that women's support and it completely changed my life, and I just started eating better and getting in shape and feeling better about myself.
What were you unhappy about?
Him and I met when I was 19, 20 years old. And through your 20s is a big time of growth. and we just kind of, grew apart. And he was very traditional in the sense of, dinner needs to be on the table every single night at this time when I walk through the door, and you take care of the kids and you take care of the house. But what he didn't realize is that I also work a full-time job. I also do this. And now I'm trying to work out to lose weight. And like, you can pull some of the weight in the house too. And that was the biggest issue was, all the fights really started because that dinner was not on that table at 6:00 when he walked in the door. Because I was at the gym, after I'd gotten off work and picked up the kids.
That man threw his life away for a warm meal?
Correct. Yeah.
That he didn't have to warm up. How about that?
And it sounds like it's very simple and like, no way, but yes way, I promise you.
And do you think also you trying to get into shape, he thought you were going to leave him and maybe he was mad at you working out?
Well, it's fun. No, it's funny because once I started losing weight, he told me that I was going to look like a man and that he wanted me to stop because he liked me heavy, but I wasn't healthy. I wasn't healthy and I wasn't happy. And this was something I was doing for myself. And he didn't want that. He wanted his women thicker and,
I have to tell you something. I'm going to go down this road with you for a minute because I'm fascinated by this. So I understand if somebody has what's the word I want? Proclivity?
Preference.
Yeah, preference. Oh. That would have been good too. A body style, right? Like I understand that. Like you look at something, you're like, that's attractive to me. And that's less attractive to me. Like I get that. Like everybody has things they're attracted to. But I don't understand how you say to somebody, I love you, but only if you look like this. That always flips me out. I can't imagine. Oh, she's going to hear this one day. It's okay. I can't imagine what would happen to my wife where I would stop loving her because of how she appeared. Like, that's interesting to me. Like, if she lost every, ounce of fat on her body and she was super thin and I was like, I don't really love this. I don't think I'd have that thought even. Like, I've never changed how I felt about my wife as she's aged. It's so weird to me to have such a desire around that specific thing that you'd blow your life up over it. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I think that it's not, it sounds superficial. And I feel like if you have that really deep love that it shouldn't, there's going to be times where you look at your partner and you're like, that's not as attractive. Like my boyfriend, he's growing out a mullet. I know you're going to love that because I'm Florida, small town. And now I'm talking about a mullet. He's growing out a mullet. His last haircut that he got, his hair was a little bit shorter on the top and I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I'm not going to stop loving him. Or, he's lost some weight because he's doing a certain type of training. I don't love him any less. I think that's insane.
Yeah, it really does sound insane to me, but I think a lot of people feel that way. You know what I mean? Like how you look is part of what I think about you.
I think that these days with the social media, I will preach that until I'm in my grave. The social media, it has such a big impact. And I think the problem is that we're looking at people all day online and we're comparing, and it's easy to distract yourself in that way to where you're suddenly any little change in your partner or at any time, you could just be like, that's not as attractive because what I'm seeing online is, I think it's done something to people's brains.
I'm telling you, that whole part of your story, that's to me, this is the family putting weight on you on purpose. And it being so important to him that he was willing to be like, I'm not interested in this if dinner's not available and you're not chubby. You know what I mean? I guess we call it thick, right? And thick. Yes. Like, I'm like, is it more polite to say thick? I don't know. I don't get that. Like, I think that's the craziest part of your story so far.
Really?
Yeah. To me, it really is. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. I guess I like thick women too, but I can't imagine that I just don't know.
Shouldn't be a deal breaker, especially if you're in love with someone and love someone. It's crazy.
I love you and we have children, but not if you lose 40 pounds. If you were to lose 40 pounds, I don't see how I could love you or these kids anymore or want to stay here, especially if there's not going to be hot beans when I get home.
Correct. Yeah. Just heat the beans up, put it in the pot. We're good. But, and honestly, all of that was, the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm very happy. I have beautiful children and, we still co-parent very well, but us splitting up, I honestly felt like my life was over when I was with him. Towards the end, I wasn't happy. And so it was the best thing that happened to both of us. And we both live happy, separate lives now. So it's fantastic. It worked out great.
Is he with a big girl?
She's probably, a little bit. He goes for the bigger women, yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm asking. I don't want you to be in a situation where he like went and met a girl that was like 5'4" and 110 pounds. He's like, actually, I really love this thin girl. Like because that would be hurtful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it wouldn't bother me either way at this point. Maybe a couple years ago, but no, not anymore.
I need the context. I'm so sorry. I know when you talk about weight, sometimes it makes people upset, but this is okay. I don't mean you. I mean the people listening. You're cool. I can tell.
Oh, okay.
But contextually for the story, I think it's important. Before you meet Mama Feed Me, you're 5'3" and you weigh how much?
I was about 115 pounds.
Okay. And then once you get married, what weight are you married at?
220.
Get out of here. Really?
I swear.
You doubled your body weight.
I gained 60 pounds the first year we were together.
Fried steak, huh? I just deep fry steak and that's what happens. I put with rice and beans and steak and
plantains. It was really good food.
And so walk me through that a little bit. Like, because I'm going to guess, right? In the beginning, you get jigglier thighs and hips, and maybe your boobs get a little bigger or something like that, get a little round belly and everybody thinks it's cute and all like that whole thing. And you're liking it for a while, or are you immediately like, what is happening to me?
At first I was like, this is a little much. And then I kind of just forgot about it. The thing was that I was so consumed in my relationship and so just like 100% in there with him that I kind of forgot about myself and I wasn't looking at myself.
You turned into like a doll that he enjoyed and you knew he liked the way you...
1,000,000,000%. I always used to say, I feel invisible. I feel like I'm not even here. And it's sad, but it's the truth. So yeah, I didn't even notice all the weight I was gaining because I wasn't paying attention.
Right. So now in fairness, is that his fault or is it a thing that felt good to you because you're loved and like you're getting all this acceptance? Correct. And everything? Yeah.
It felt good to be loved and 100%.
Okay. All right. Wow. You shocked me by the doubling of the weight though. That's like an accomplishment. Like meaning you can't do that by mistake. You know what I mean?
I loved I'm telling you, it was such good food.
It really was the food. It just got you. Like you didn't get the body part. You didn't like, it was cool that he liked it, but you just really enjoyed the eating.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't stop. I had zero self-control.
No kidding. And okay. And but that's back now because when you, listen, in my opinion, you guys didn't just get divorced because of the dinner thing. Like you were already unhappy. Like this goes all the way back to the first minute you met him. Like you would run your course. I think that's the bravest thing that people will take out of this is that you got out of this pretty quickly. You know what I mean? And most people would have hung longer. But why is that? What about your personality let you go, you know what, I don't care. Like I'm not doing this anymore.
That's interesting. It's funny because I allowed things to go on for so long. And then one day I just woke up and I said, hey, this sucks. You know, not wasted, you know, no time is wasted, but I've spent majority of my 20s very unhappy. And I kept saying to myself, I only have one life. I only have one life. He's not the one going in the grave when I die. Right. I am. I'm too young for this. I'm miserable. This is crazy. You know, and I kept telling myself until one day I woke up and it was like how people do affirmations, my like daily affirmations were, Amber, stop living like this. Stop. This is crazy. Mm-hmm. And then one day I just woke up and I said, hey, Amber, you're right. This is crazy. Let's get out of here.
You're able to make that decision to leave because he's more concerned with his needs and how you physically look than he is with your happiness or your health.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. He started to make it easier and easier, you know?
Yeah, I understand. Was that cultural on his part, do you think, in some ways? It was.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. You're not a person.
That's a good word. Yeah. I was trying to figure it out, but yes.
Yeah. You're not a person. You're the lady whose butt jiggles the way I want it to, who brings me dinner.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
And can I ask an uncomfortable question?
Go ahead.
I can't believe this is what I think is an uncomfortable question after all the rest of it. But really, I should have asked you that before every question I've asked you for the last 20 minutes. But
okay.
Are you having sex with him right up till the end?
Probably until about 6 months before. But even then, it was like once Like I remember one time we went like 4 or 5 months, like, and that's what was so upsetting, was that through my 20s, I'm literally having sex once every 6 months. Like I was like, this is crazy.
Like, so whose decision is that to only do it that infrequently? His?
Yeah, his. Yeah. I mean, I could go deep into that. Him telling me that it got to the point where he told me I was too fat. But then when I'd lose weight, he didn't want me to lose weight, but I couldn't do this because I was too fat, and I couldn't do this because it wasn't attractive. And, it was nonstop. No matter what, it was some sort of comment, so even it just couldn't happen.
Holy Christ.
It was a lot.
That's fucking fickle.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, double your body weight for me. Oh, too far. What?
Yeah.
Don't lose weight. You look masculine. What? Like, that's how it went?
Yeah. Even to this day, we've been separated 5 years now. And I remember last year he made a comment because I've lost all this weight, and he told me how small my butt was. And I was like, hey, this isn't your ass. Walk away. It's not your ass, dude.
Can I call this episode Not Your Ass? That's fantastic.
Sure.
Wow. How long have you been apart when he felt comfortable commenting that your ass got smaller?
That was at 4 years, but it's been, all through he's made comments just because he feels like he can.
And you take that because you're co-parenting?
Yeah, I mean, it's not too often to where it's too big of an issue. And then, if he tells me a comment about myself, I tell him there's no reason his boobs should be bigger than mine. So I just kind of get him back and walk on. He's very insecure about that. So I hit him where it hurts on that one.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. If I told a lady everything about me for a certain amount of time, I'd be very nice to her for the rest of the time, because I'd be like, she definitely knows how to make me upset.
Yeah.
Well, that's fascinating. Like, and you're characterizing this as we co-parent well together.
Well, that's, for the most part, we co-parent well. Once in a while, he'll make a comment, and I just I'm a very passive kind of person. As far as the kids go, we do fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's not near what it, we do good. There's just that once in a while comment where I just kind of have to dig back into them, and then we go on with our life,
How are the kids doing with like their body structure?
What do you mean?
I mean, are you feeding them differently than he would have, or are the kids going from like some like really well controlled, thoughtful nutrition to like fried steak? Are they able to like, how's their weight? I guess I'm asking.
Yes, their weight is good. He doesn't even cook. So, my son, he just turned 8. He gets upset and says stuff to me often because 98% of the meals going into our bodies when they're with me, I cook. I home cook everything.
Right.
But the dad doesn't cook. He takes him out to eat. So I get the comments once in a while, well, how come dad always takes me out to eat and you never do? And I want to go here. And I say, because I feed you healthier. And I've had conversations with him because, now you're going with my mom being a type 1 diabetic. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I have many, many autoimmune diseases in my family. And food is very important when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I've had conversations trying to get him to feed them right. And it falls short every time. And I just do the best I can.
Isn't it weird too, that all of this turmoil in two people's lives around food, and he's not concerned with putting that on the kids?
I know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you would think you'd step back and go, I'm unhealthy. My desires put all that weight on her, and it caused all this problem. Like, does he know that's why you're divorced? That's a good question. Or does he just think you got like cranky one day and left him? Like, you know what I mean? Like, poor women have like, listen, everybody gets it from one way or another, but the way women get it is just terrible. Does he just think she got bitchy and I'm not married anymore? Does she realize this whole, like, this story we've laid out? Does he know all this happened?
I've had conversations with him. And even when we were together, like I used to, I'm really, really big on open communication and let's like work through things. And, through the years, I would say, hey, like, this is where we're at. What can I do to help this situation? From my end, here's what you can do. And I always tried to talk things through. But his core belief was that we are together and that's it, and to where my belief is as the years go by, people change, they grow, and your relationship is something you always have to nurture. And that's something I tried to do while with him. So yes, even afterwards, we would have conversations of trying to navigate through our relationship of where it went wrong. And it always came out as, I just up and left because I couldn't do it anymore. And it's like, dude, I cried to you for 2 years. Hey, we need to fix this. We need therapy. We need this, let's try something. And it was no. So, from his end, it's just, I up and left one day, but it's not even close to the truth. But,
so interesting. You're so nice to share all this. Thank you. And it's very, very interesting. And I do mean nice, like, because you don't think you're the only one with this story, do you?
No.
You know what I mean? Like the manipulation based on your weight. I think young kids would call that gaslighting, but I dislike that word, so I won't be using it.
All the words these days.
Yeah, there's too many words. But I mean, he pushed you in a direction and then said, then the romantic love part goes away one way or the other. And it's, oh, you're too heavy now. Or like, you know what I mean? Because that's not, by the way, that wasn't the case. Like what was your heaviest weight?
220 last time I went on the scale.
Okay. So you doubled up and that was your highest weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how could he say, because if that happened in the first year of your relationship, how could he say to you then, you're too heavy now? Like, I'm the same heavy I was prior.
Correct.
Like, so I'm going to have to do an episode with Erica about it. There's an actual thing that happens. Like when romantic love happens, it's like a brain chemistry thing, like a hormonal response. Like there's a whole like psychological process that happens in there. And then eventually it actually does burn away. It changes. So that part changes for him. And then he blames you. Like, I don't feel this way about you anymore. It must be because you're something. It's because you don't bring me dinner, or it's because you look differently than I wanted you to. Man, I got to tell you what, I have never been in control of a situation enough where I could tell somebody how to look. It sounds like it must be just a power lust situation. Like seriously, like, and you were so young and your life wasn't great growing up and you took it and you would never take that again now. Is that right?
No.
Yeah. You learned a hell of a lesson.
I did. Yeah. I did learn a lot. Yeah. So.
Jesus. Okay. All right. So I forgot you have diabetes. And then so like a couple of so then you get COVID before COVID's a thing. You're a trendsetter. And then you get type 1. And how does that present?
Yeah, I started. So my mom passed away in August. And then, obviously I'm extremely depressed. In that time, I will tell you, but okay. In that time, I was actually in I was in a bad relationship. But I was just in the beginning. I was in the beginning of a bad relationship. I was only like 4, 5, 6 months in. My mom passes away. Then my aunt, who is like my second mother, has a heart attack and passes away a couple months later. So I am absolutely struggling. I'm working like 70 hours a week. I'm trying to deal with their deaths. I have, a bad relationship that I'm in that COVID kind of put us in together and we were struggling. And then I was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker, but I was blaming it on, I couldn't understand what was going on. Obviously the clear signs. I was drinking a ton of water. I had to have freezing cold water with me at all times and chewing on ice. And I just nauseous all the time. And I was lethargic, but I thought it was because I was working 70 hours a week and I was super depressed. And, I finally went into the doctor and I said, hey, I can't. So they took my sugar. I was at about I was around 600 and they said, go ahead and go to the hospital. And they put me in ICU. And then I was in there for a week and they did all the testing, the C-peptides and all that. And then they diagnosed me as a type 1.
How about that? Jeez. Wow. That was quick. I don't want to go backwards because I felt like we were done with this. But when you picked up the second bad relationship there, were the same things happening?
No.
Just different bad things.
Yeah. He was in recovery and I didn't know that at the time. Can I say the word? He was in recovery for heroin.
Okay.
I had no idea. And then when COVID happened, I met him right when COVID happened. And like a month later, everything shut down. So then he started like hanging out at my house every day. And eventually it just turned into, well, you're here. You might as well move in. And I didn't find out until 4, 5, 6 months in, he finally had told me. And then I started finding things. He was drinking really heavy and, doing like, I don't know if you ever heard of like kratom and all that kind of stuff. So he started using different things again. And then it got really bad. And it took me a while to be able to get out of it.
Wait a minute. Because you moved in. He had you because you were in.
No, he moved into my house.
Oh, my God. Never. What are you doing? Listen to me, girls.
I know.
All right, everyone, hold on a second. Do we need to do first of all, kratom.
I didn't know.
A tropical evergreen tree in the coffee family, native to Southeast Asia, is indigenous to Cambodia, blah, blah, blah. It's been used as a herbal medicine. Like, I can get high with that? Wait.
You can. It has heroin-like effects, and it's legal.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Okay. Listen. All right. Here's my message to the women out there. First of all, if you hear the word kratom, run. Okay?
Yes.
and everything else. Heroin, I just want you to be heavier. I need you to look like this. You know, will you play PlayStation with me for 12 hours? I don't care. Like, boy, listen. I don't want to out a whole group of people. Boys we're dangerous, okay? Like, that's the first thing. Like, and oh my God, like, you girls have got to be careful, okay? Like, yeah, it's not good, okay? It used to just be that boys were just driven by sex, and at least you could tell the ones who just wanted to be with you for sex. Now, there's so much happening. Like it's fascinating. Like, he doesn't leave his house. He doesn't do this. He can't go outside. He's got, he gets uncomfortable around people. Like, I don't know what to do. You go into the middle of the country to try to find like a corn-fed boy who's not scared of anything, and he's doing meth.
Correct. Correct.
I mean, what are you looking for? Like, what's the secret? Tell the girls, have you met a nice boy yet?
I have. I've been in a relationship for a year now. He is a godsend.
Describe him just with adjectives. Forget him for a minute. Just describe him with adjectives. Is he quiet?
No. He is goofy, respectful. I always get this wrong. Chivalrous.
Yeah. It's that sh with a vowel. Chivalrous. Say it. Go. Let it roll out. Yeah.
Kind. Considerate. I could probably.
Does he drink? Is he a drinker?
No.
Is he get high all the time?
No.
Mm-hmm. Smoke weed once in a while?
He used to. Nope, not anymore.
But not now. Okay, I see. Is he what they call mature?
Yes.
This is the word you're looking for. Girls, when you're out there thinking of giving your flower away, what you're looking for is a mature person. Otherwise, do not start making babies with dopey guys, okay? Nope. Like, because they're not going to be mature enough to be good fathers and husbands and stuff like that. You got to let them listen, you can be with them while they're goofy and everything, but like they got to be mature before you make a baby. That's all. These are my bits of advice. I don't know how to explain it, especially 18, 17, 18, 19, 20, into the mid, guys are just trying to get laid. Like,
correct.
Yeah. Please be careful. Be careful. Don't make a baby with dopey boys. Please.
Yeah. This
is all. And if you've already made a baby with a dopey boy, you got to fix him. And it's not that hard even. We're very malleable. What, your life's been is it better now?
It is now. Yeah. I went through a lot, and I've gone through a lot in my life, and I'm proud to say that, my life is pretty ordinary now. It's really leveled out. I'm in a phenomenal relationship. I have both my kids here with me and have a great job. And, I label it as living a mild life, and I'm okay with it. I love it.
When you were younger, do you think you were trying to live an exciting life?
When I was a teenager, I was definitely one of the wild ones, but I think I was rebelling from being held down a lot. And,
You said something earlier about like living that high school life. And I thought, that's a thing? I did not care for that. It was not a thing I was looking for when I was younger.
Oh, yeah. I did it, for the most part. I had a pretty, good high school experience. And, my daughter, she's turning 15 next month, and she's right on in there wanting to live that high school experience. And so it's, it's up to me to really try and guide her.
Yeah. So interesting. I just went school after. I just wanted to get the hell out of there. I wasn't looking to hang around and have an experience with anybody. Did you use the word mild?
Yes.
I have to tell you, I think that might be the key. Seriously. Like mature boys and a normal life, and not to look at it as a boring thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, because you're surrounded by people you love, and you're working for them, and they're working for you, and that you love them. People don't know this, but I asked you to switch rooms before we recorded, and you walked into a room and just kind of surprised your son. He looked up at you and he told you he loves you. Like, it's like the first thing he said to you when you walked into the room.
Correct.
Yeah.
What more could you want?
That's my point. You don't need is it kratom with a K? You don't. Yes.
Yeah, you don't.
You don't need kratom. If an 8-year-old boy looks at you and the first thought in his mind is, I love you, mom. Like that's good. Like, what do people think life is? I don't like that. Yeah.
And, to go back to the point that I made earlier, with social media is that everyone thinks these people live these such lavish lives and then they want to aspire to do that. But if you really slow down and count all the small things that add up into a nice, calm, loving life. You want people around you that love you and you love them unconditionally. Mm-hmm. You want to, have yourself a decent job so that you don't need this lavish home, this huge, I live in a small little house, but we're happy. It's cozy. And it's the small things. I have a loving boyfriend, my cats. I'm literally cat lady. They won't leave me alone. Get you a loving animal. And it's the small things.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I watched. Do you know who Mr. Beast is?
Oh, my son keeps talking about him.
Okay, well, listen, he must only be like 26 years old, right?
Okay.
He starts a YouTube channel when he's a kid. I think 13. I think I've watched a documentary about him. He builds it to this massive thing, right? And he learns along the way. He doesn't seem to be driven by the money. So if he made money on his video, he'd put the money he made on the video into the next video. And he started getting more and more popular to the point where his videos are like these 20-minute productions that look like, they were put on by Paramount Pictures at this point. And, and it's fun stuff, but it makes a bunch of money. And then he branched out and started doing he has a channel where he does philanthropic things. Mm-hmm. Well, a week or two ago, his latest philanthropic video popped up in front of me. And he basically just went to 3 different countries and built 100 houses in each one of the countries.
Oh, my goodness.
And these houses are, by American standards, they're not much bigger than something that a wealthy white person would keep their lawnmower in. Okay. But but it's still, 25 by 25 and, has a pitched roof and heating and water and all this stuff. Right. So he's going to these places where people are living under tarps in some situations. Right. And he puts up these solid homes that are raised up off the ground, have water, electricity, with a what's that called? Panel. Why can't I think of simple words? Solar panel. Jesus Christ. A solar panel, right? He takes the people away and brings them back a couple days later because these houses don't take long for the crews to put up. And they're told they win a trip or something. And when they come back, there's a brand new house on their property. And these people's responses, I almost cried through the whole goddamn video. Because it felt they had a look on their face that said, you'd have to give an American kid $900 million to make them look like that. Right.
I bet.
And one of the kids was like, is this bed for me? That's all she said. And I was like, oh, I was like, oh my God, she's over. The father was like, thank you. The mother's like, I can cook here. It all just and then at the end, he heard that this one guy lost his transportation. So we got him a motorcycle, a dirt bike. And the guy, a grown man, hugged him. He saved a parent. And he goes, you don't know how this changes my life. And so the Mr. Beast guy goes, wait, this motorcycle's he doesn't know. He's 26. He's like, this is going to change your life. And he went and bought a motorcycle for everybody in the town.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And I'm like, oh my God, these people, they have so little. They understand what you're trying to explain to people who feel like there's so much to have that everything they don't have is a failure. I'm not driving a Lamborghini like the guy on YouTube. I'm a failure. Yeah. I don't have this chain. I'm a failure. I don't have these shoes. I'm a failure. I didn't go to this college. I'm a failure. Do you know how much money people want to make coming out of college now? Kids come out of college, they expect to be making $150,000 a year. And when it doesn't go that way, they're like, I'm taking this shitty job. Wait, what?
Yeah.
$20 means nothing to people at this point. I'm still freaked out by that. I know that I get that you walk into a convenience store and a soda's $3 and a sandwich is $10 and $20 just seems like a sandwich and a soda. But it's a lot of money. It's hard to make $20.
It's scary.
Yeah. I heard somebody recently say, I don't know if I want to get that. It's they raised the price by $20,000. And I was like, well, no, you obviously don't want that thing anymore. Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, yeah, when I first looked at it, it was this much, and now it's $20,000 more. I'm like, could you afford it the first time? And they're like, no, and, but, and I'm like, there's a button here. Like, what's the but exactly? Like, you couldn't afford it now. It's 20 grand more now. You're still thinking of a way to try to do it. Like, you can't afford that. And why would you want to put yourself in that bad situation? And I don't know. I think you're right. I think, as crazy as it sounds, because I'm old, it started when we started telling people how much athletes made. That was a big mistake in the 80s.
Yes.
That guy makes $1 million, because back then it was $1 million. My God, guy makes $1 million a year. And then you're like, and then people started being like, he doesn't deserve $1 million a year. And then some people said, well, yes, he does. He brings in ticket sales. He does deserve a piece of that. And then that whole conversation starts happening, except people get confused that they're living that life. And you're not living that life. Like, you don't get a piece of the pie when you go to work. You get a salary. And, maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, but you're not changing it. And then all of a sudden you're like, this job sucks. I'm not going to be wealthy one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either's most everybody. Like, interesting. Yeah. And you see that. You see how it's hurting people.
Oh, 100%, and it's scary for our kids that we're raising and being around this kind of mindset. And, I try to, with my kids, it's making sure that they understand that you don't need everything in the world to be happy. You need to be with your loved ones, and, it's the small stuff that counts, so I try and work on that with them, because I don't want them to grow up and be those kind of kids that always feel like a failure because they're not right out of college making $150,000 a year,
Yeah, right. Or like have these crazy hobbies or things that like everything looks like a YouTube video. Like every moment of your life needs to look like a YouTube video. And I don't mean for other people even. I mean for you to think it's valuable.
Correct.
Yeah, that's sad. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, what are we going to do? Should we all just jump in the river? Should we just give up?
Not in a Florida river unless you want to get bit by a gator.
And then surrounded by a boa constrictor that will eventually swallow me days later.
Yeah, go into the Everglades. That can certainly happen.
Oh, my God. I don't understand why you people, I don't understand why anybody lives there, but okay. Although I've seen videos and people look very happy. So, all right.
It's pretty hot.
It's pretty hot. I can't. It's summer right now, 2024, in case anybody's listening to this later. And I know it's become unfashionable to say, like, I think there's global warming, but it's like really hot.
Yes. Yeah. And every year it gets hotter. And I say, it wasn't as hot last year as it is this year. I feel like I say that every year.
Yeah. I don't know. Listen, I can't tell you if it's cyclical or anything. I don't know the details about it, but I don't think we should be arguing that it's hot, because it's like, was it like over 100 degrees in the upper Northwest this week? And that's not normal, right?
No, we have what time is it? It's 10 o'clock right now, and we have it feels like 95, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. We haven't even hit 1 o'clock yet.
Yeah.
It feels like 95 out here. I'm like, what?
My son went to play basketball last night, and I was like, you have enough to drink? He's like 24. Like, and he's living here again for a little bit while he's teaching himself some stuff. Because I'm glad he works out and he uses basketball to work out and everything. I'm like, but you got enough like liquid with you? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. And he like showed me, he really did. But he was leaving the house at like 6 o'clock at night. It was still in it was in the mid 90s and the humidity was 50%. And he got home. I know you're laughing because you're in Florida. The humidity is 100%. But he got home and he's drenched and he's like, listen, he's like, I got to get in the shower. He's like, but I said, how come you played tonight? He goes, because the humidity is supposed to be 75% tomorrow. He's like, this was like my one chance to work out this week, like running. He's like, because it's going to get worse and worse this week. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know how we got down this road. This is great. You gave a great interview. Okay. You're fantastic.
Thank you.
I like you a lot. Yeah. That's why I was upset when you said you were born the year I graduated. Because I was like, I could get rid of my wife and get a lovely girl with 2 Cuban, Mexican, Caucasian children. We could have a nice life together.
Down in the swamp.
Well, yeah. Plus, although I could, let me say this. This is no disrespect to anybody, but if I moved to Florida, I could keep my chameleon outside most of the year.
You could.
Yeah.
You could.
That's an attractive idea to me.
You could.
But seriously, like I'm not flirting with you because some creepy person's going to be like, oh, at the end he flirted with her. I wasn't flirting with her. I was trying to point out that you're really lovely.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, you're enjoyable to talk to, and you're smart, and you see the world, and you took control for yourself. You made it through a bad thing, and you came out the other side a couple of times. You could easily be running around trying to figure out what kratom is for yourself, but you're not. And
Nope.
What a ridiculous word, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I use working out as my therapy.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
Really fantastic. Well, I don't know. I just want to thank you and ask if there's anything that I didn't ask you that I should have.
No, this was wonderful. I was super nervous to come on here today, so I appreciate you having me and making me comfortable. I feel like we had a fantastic conversation.
Oh, excellent. That's my goal. Also, I feel bad because if you were already nervous, as soon as you got on, I was like, do you not have a headset? And you're like, wait, I'm sorry. And I'm like, wait, don't start. It's okay. Hold on.
I was going into full panic.
I know you were. I'm like, no, calm down. I said, stop. Do two things for me. First of all, chill out. This happens a lot. We're going to work it out. I don't want you to worry about it. I can hear when people start like scampering around their room, like, slow down. It's okay. By the way, for everyone else who's listening, and I'm assuming Amber doesn't know this too, when you sign up to be on the podcast, there's a paragraph. You should read it. It tells you need a headset with a microphone.
Yes, there is. And I did read it technically back when I booked this. And the last couple of days, I had actually been looking for that paragraph and I couldn't find it because I was like, I feel like it said I needed these headphones, but I couldn't find it.
Can I ask you one last question before I let you go?
Sure.
Your physical appearance is completely different than it was before now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
How does it make you feel? Are you happier about the health aspects, about the strength, about the vitality part? Do you care about how you look? Like, what's the real human feeling about having lost weight?
What I will say about losing weight is that a lot of, especially women feel like when they lose weight that they'll feel better about yourselves. And to an extent you will, but the thing that doesn't lose weight and the thing that still needs work that people don't understand is your brain is still the same. You may like the way you look, but you still are going to need to do the inner work because you could be a skinny, in-shape person. Whatever was bothering you before mentally is still going to be there. I love my body. I'm 34. I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. My muscles are redonkulous because of, losing weight and everything and working out all the time and eating healthy. My blood sugars are much better, which obviously also equates to less stress. So all around in that aspect, I'm healthy and happy, but your brain is still something you will have to work on extra, as well as actually working out, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And you are at this point, you're pointing your internal turmoil at working out instead of food. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
it takes a while to build a healthy relationship with food because we use food for emotion. We were raised on that. Birthday cake on your birthdays and celebrations and food for parties. And, we're raised on that. So you have to really make that disconnect. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Yeah, I haven't. So I asked you because I do a diary. I don't know if you've heard it or not, but like I'm using a GLP and I've lost like 47 pounds in the last year and a half, right?
Congrats.
Thank you. And I make a diary. Every time I shoot the GLP, I sit down and talk for a couple of minutes before I shoot it. And it's just like stream of consciousness about what happened that week, trying to lose weight or like something I learned or whatever. I really don't want to use the word journey, but something I've learned like during the journey. I got this very passionate, kind email from a person who basically told me I can't talk about my weight loss like this because there are some people who have eating disorders. And I'm like, look, I don't want you to feel bad. But I mean, if I just tried to put myself, I tried to remove myself for a second. And the first thing I thought was, if I had an eating disorder, would I listen to a podcast that said GLP weight loss diary? Like, I feel like I would be like, that's probably not good for me to listen to now, but okay. Like, I think I understood the person's perspective, but I wish they understood mine, which is I'm literally just telling you how I feel.
Correct.
If I parse every word I spoke about so that I made sure that no one eating disorder to any other, impact that somebody's had in their life, if I parse every one of my words so that I don't make anyone potentially upset, what you're going to get is, hey, welcome to the Juicebox Podcast, a couple of ads. I'm going to say some banal crap about diabetes for 5 minutes and the podcast is going to be over.
Correct.
And you never hear Amber's story.
Correct.
Because I didn't say anything to you today that you were like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that.
Correct.
Like, yeah, as a matter of fact, the way I categorized you, you most of the time were like, yeah, that is exactly what's happening. Right. Yep. I get that could be difficult for someone to listen to, but it doesn't make it a thing you can't say. It's almost like, I almost think of podcasting like comedy on some level. Like you can't go to a comedy club and ask a guy not to make an abortion joke, because that's going to happen, right? Like you can't stand up in the middle and say, I've had an abortion, this isn't funny. Well, no shit to you, it is definitely not funny. I get that, right? But you can't quell comedy because it's important, you know, like it's important socially. And if you try to make it so that no one's ever offended by it, you're not going to have comedy anymore. And I think the same thing about these conversations. Like, no one's going to sit down on, you know, Nightline or 2020 and talk to Amber about what happened to her. But in the course of this hour, 20 minutes, we heard that her mom was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes before management was any good. And doctors watched her kill herself her whole life and never helped her. As a matter of fact, she thought she was doing okay for most of the time. If you listen to her stepfather's like retelling of it, they didn't think they were doing anything specifically wrong. That had a significant impact on Amber, who then threw herself into another situation that then had a significant impact on her 10 years of her life. Right? You got to hear a story about a man basically putting weight on a woman so that she was more like physically attractive to him, and then got her to a weight where he said, "You're too fat for me." Like, holy hell. Like, that's crazy. Okay. And then you have babies with that person, and then you have to pull yourself out of that situation. You have to repair your health. You have to figure out how to take care of your kids. You're not going to hear this on 2020 because they're going to be busy saying things very nicely so that nobody gets upset. And you want these conversations. You should want these. Now, is someone going to listen to this and be like, this was very triggering to me? I'm going to guess, right? But I can't make a podcast that everybody's going to be okay with, because there's 1,000 of them out there. You should go listen to them. They're very boring and nobody listens to them. Like, we went over the real things that happen in your life. It's not my fault that the guy did that to you. I just asked the questions that got it out there. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. I need somebody to stick up for me once in a while.
You're fine. I think that if you don't like, you know, what you're hearing, which no one's going to like everything that they hear, it's just as simple as hitting the off button. It's that simple.
Yeah. I don't understand. I listen to things all the time I don't like, and I get halfway through it and I go, this sucks. And I turn it off.
Yeah, you change it.
Yeah. Just think I suck and turn it off. But if you don't, then listen, and you're going to get like an honest conversation with Amber, and you're going to hear me ask questions where sometimes I'm like, I don't really understand what's happening here, or I have a really strong reaction to this, or whatever, you know? Anyway, trust me, I said Jesus Christ at one point to something you said. I lost 25 listeners. They're like, I didn't know he was going to take the Lord's name in vain today. Like, you know, like, and keep that in mind, that I'm not unaware that by saying what I think, I'm going to lose somebody. I lose somebody probably every 10 minutes. I gain a person, but I probably lose a person too. I could speak in a way that would keep everybody here, but all I would be doing is keeping you all in the middle of a boring, uninteresting conversation that doesn't really move your understanding anywhere. I mean, seriously, what I heard from you today, I'm grateful to have heard. It never occurred to me that I could have looked at a woman, told her I loved her, and said, but if you weigh more. Like, it never occurred to me to say to her, like, it would have never, like, and now I'm realizing there's probably people out there that are like, look, I want you to get breast implants, or you should do this, or lose weight, or, you know, if you really want to be attractive, you should be doing this. Like, I find that really, I was stunned by that, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I really appreciate you sharing all this. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Hold on one second.
Okay.
The conversation you just enjoyed was brought to you by US Med. usmed.com/juicebox, or call 888-721-1514. Get started today and get your supplies from US Med. 1 year, 1 CGM. That's today's sponsor, the Eversense 365. Learn more and get started today at eversensecgm.com/juicebox, and you may be eligible to receive the system for $199 for a full year. There's more details about eligibility at my link. A huge thank you to one of today's sponsors, Gvoke Glucagon. Find out more about Gvoke HypoPen at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. You spell that GVOKEGLUCAGON.com/juicebox. I can't thank you enough for listening. Please make sure you're subscribed or following in your audio app. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. WrongWayRecording.com.